Welcome back to another episode of the AA Sports Podcast. My name's Art here with my brother Alex.
What's going on, guys? What's going on?
Sorry we haven't been here in a while, or we haven't been recording in a while. Our schedules get a little conflicted sometimes, but we're trying to have a set schedule for us to record and to put out podcasts for you guys. If you guys haven't already, make sure you guys subscribe, drop a like, leave a comment, turn on the notifications so you guys know whenever we post a podcast or record a podcast for you guys. We'll be doing a little more of these, I think, more often. Alex, big weekend in boxing. Really big weekend. I think the main event that everybody had an eye on for a long time. We didn't get a chance to really preview it. But Vergil Ortiz Jr. taking on Maurice Hooker. Going into the fight, what were your thoughts on Ortiz versus Hooker?
You know what? I thought it was going to be a really good test for Vergil Ortiz because, you know, a lot of people probably don't know Maurice Hooker, but I felt like he had a really good fight with Jose Ramirez. So I felt like that was why he was going to have a good test with him. I did think that Vergil Ortiz was going to probably break him down at 147, just it being Maurice Hooker's first fight at 147. Seemed like he didn't really get his feet wet or anything, but, I mean, he showed Maurice Hooker's he's a true warrior, man.
Going into the fight, I thought the same thing. You know, Maurice Hooker, even though he lost to Jose Ramirez, people will remember the knockout. But if you watch those first 4 or 5 rounds of the fight, I believe the knockout was in the 6th. The first 5 rounds of the fight were super competitive. You can even say on the scorecards, you know, it was either a tied going into the 6th or Hooker was winning going into the 6th or Ramirez was winning. It could have gone either way. Like anybody could have been winning at that point. Jose Ramirez caught him good, and Maurice Hooker just could not recover. Like everything happened so quick, and Jose Ramirez was able to get him out of there. So with that, knowing that and keeping that in mind, I think a lot of people were kind of overlooking Maurice Hooker.
Yeah,
you know, a lot of the public, at least what I read on Twitter, you know, Vergil Ortiz in 3, Vergil Ortiz in 2. A couple people thought Hooker would take Vergil into deep waters, but at the end, Vergil Ortiz would get the knockout, and which he did end up doing. Talk to me about the fight. What'd you think of Vergil's performance?
Yeah, he did pretty good. You know, I feel also I was really impressed with Maurice Hooker as well. You know what? I felt like he really showed that he's able to give a test to anybody in the 147-pound division. It just seemed like he was a little bit more experienced than Vergil Ortiz, but I think Vergil Ortiz just was the better boxer all around. I just felt like it was a good fight for him to get experience in. You know, he called out Terrence Crawford. He wants to fight with Terrence Crawford. A lot of people are wondering whether Vergil Ortiz is ready for that fight. I'll be honest, and I've already answered that question. I think he should have at least one more fight, maybe with a guy like Yordenis Ugas, a guy like Sean Porter. Let's see who. Jaron Ennis. Jaron Ennis. He's gonna fight Sergey Lipinets. If he could get one more fight before he fights a champion, which is probably most likely gonna be Terrence Crawford, I think it would be really good for him. You know, he's young. What is he? 22 years old.
22.
Yeah. You know what? Give me one more fight from Vergil Ortiz.
Now, would you be upset if Vergil fought Crawford or Spence next?
Crawford or Spence next?
I mean, I'm not gonna say, you know, I'm not asking you to pick him to win or if he would lose. Would you be okay with it? Would you be happy to see that fight?
Oh, yeah, I'd be happy to see it, but it's just with the promoter side of things, I don't know if that fight's even going to happen, you know? But then again, Crawford and Spence can't come to an agreement. I guess Spence wants too much money. He's talking like a 70-30 split, something like that. That's pretty outrageous.
Yeah.
So I think if he's going to fight a champion, it's going to probably be Crawford. And you know what? If he wants to take that fight next, if he's able to get that fight, I wouldn't mind seeing it. You know what? If he's gonna dare to be great, well then dare to be great and be one of the top 147 pounders and earn that belt.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's a rush. I think the public, you know, is kind of like thinking, okay, Spence, who does he have left to fight on the PBC side? I think Spence could probably fight Manny Pacquiao. Keith Thurman, even though, he hasn't looked good in his last couple outings, I think Keith Thurman is still a legitimate 147-pound contender.
Where did he not look good? I think against the Manny Pacquiao fight, for people that don't know boxing, I think Keith Thurman put up a really good fight in that fight.
Yes.
He got dropped, but that's Manny Pacquiao.
But yes, he put up a good performance. But I think people expected him to beat Manny Pacquiao and handily beat Josecito Lopez, which he did. He had a trouble with. So I think Thurman is still a legitimate contender. But I think that's the only fight. That one and Ugas are the only fights for Earl Spence. And Crawford on the top rank side, there's really nobody, at 147 for him to fight that people are dying to see.
Like a lot of people are saying, well, who's the better one, Crawford or Spence? Well, if you're talking about resumes, I think Spence has the better resume.
Spence does have.
You know what I mean? But Crawford, he's up there. It just he's fought like guys like Amir Khan, who's known to be chinny. You know what I mean? Like he got stopped by Danny Garcia. He had got knocked out by Canelo, which I'm not. Everybody knows Canelo was just huge at the time. He was, Khan wasn't really a test for Canelo. It was more like, when is Canelo gonna land that shot and knock him out, right?
Yep.
I mean, if anybody knows boxing, that's probably what you guys were thinking. So it seemed like Khan wasn't really like that the Khan that he used to be, right?
Yeah.
So when he fought Crawford, he was just he was like kind of over the hill. He was on a downward spiral. You know what I mean? Even Kell Brook. I mean, Kell Brook was a good 147 pounder. Then he went up. Then he got he went jumped up 2 weight classes to fight Triple G for no reason. He took a beating in that fight. I think he broke both his orbital bones in that fight, which, I mean, he was never the same after that one. Nope. He fought Spence, which he put up a really good fight against Spence.
He gave Spence his toughest test.
Yeah, that was a really good fight. But then even after that Spence fight, he just was not the same. He was on the shelf for a while, and then he moved up. I think he was contemplating moving up to 154, and then he comes back down to 147, and he just didn't look good in that fight either. But, I mean, you know what? I hope Vergil Ortiz does get a shot with Terrence Crawford or Spence or one of these guys before they move up to 154.
I think title fight wise, Ugas would be the one to make for a 147 belt.
I guess he's gonna fight Spence though. Isn't that what people are saying?
That's what he's saying. That's what people are saying. So we'll see if that happens. And if that does happen, then that means Spencer Ugas will be fighting for 3 of the welterweight titles, and then Crawford has the other one. Okay. And then Pacquiao has like one of the like WBA super interim whatever belts.
Do you think Danny Garcia moves up to 154?
I don't think so.
He put something out on Instagram. I guess he did an interview with one of the PBC people or whatever that do interviews, and I guess he's moving up to 154. So I don't know if he's gonna have another fight at 147 or what's the case, but he says the next chapter in his career is gonna be at 154.
That'll be very interesting because I mean, at 147, I would like to see Vergil fight Danny Garcia, and I know Danny Garcia doesn't want to be that guy who. Well, I guess a lot of these guys don't want to be that guy who has to be that stepping stone for a young up and comer. You know, a name
or wants to give him that opportunity.
A name that isn't mentioned a lot is Sean Porter. You know, Sean Porter is also a guy who I would like to see Vergil fight. But these guys, you know, they're going to price themselves out. If they're going to be used as stepping stones, they're going to make sure they get paid the most amount of money for it. And, you know, it'll still be a good competitive fight. And don't get me wrong, they have the chance, you know, a chance to win also. But they know that you know, their time has come, and the next generation of 147s, you know, Vergil Ortiz, Duran Ennis, they're coming from. And it's not far away. Vergil, I think, you know, I think his next fight against a fight against Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, maybe Ugas if he doesn't fight Spence, but I think that's probably what's going to happen. Ugas, Spence, you know, there's names there for Vergil to really set himself up for a title fight. What
do you think about Vergil Ortiz having? I guess he had COVID up I don't know, like 2 weeks before this fight, or I think 3 weeks before this fight, there's a report coming out saying Alex Sekbak put it out.
I don't know if he...
Don't shoot the messenger. It was Alex Sekbak. Alex Sekbak, are you putting out fake news or what? Did he have COVID or not?
I don't think the fight would have happened if he did.
That's what they're saying. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
He put it out.
That's what they're saying, but I don't think the fight would have happened. I mean, I could check my sources and I'll let you know.
Maybe he didn't report it. Maybe he didn't report it or something.
No, you got to report it.
Yeah? But what if it was too much, like... What if it was
think about it.
Ahead of time?
Think about it. If he had COVID 3 weeks ago or even a month ago, he's in the middle of camp. He's sparring, so he's putting his sparring partners at risk. He's putting his gym mates at risk. He's putting his trainer at risk. He's putting, his dad at risk. Anybody else who helps him is going to be at risk. So I doubt it. I think Robert runs a good runs a too well of a run gym for something like that to happen.
Oh, well, it was in a video that he came out with. He posted on YouTube. I don't know if he said that he had COVID or something, but he said that 2 weeks leading to the fight, he was contemplating pulling out. So, and he was mentioning something about COVID. So I could be getting my words crossed around or whatever, but I just skimmed through the video. I'm trying to, I'm trying to get as much information as I can. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'll check. Like I said, I'll check my sources.
Okay.
Any last thoughts on Ortiz Hooker?
No, you know what? It was a really good fight. I'm glad Vergil Ortiz came out with the win. And hats off to Maurice Hooker, man. He put up a freaking good fight.
And to all the people...
He did really good. You know what? And to all the people that booed, F y'all.
Yep. F all the people that booed him.
And I'm one of them, right? Because I booed. I booed.
You booed because he hurt his hand?
What?
You booed because he hurt his hand?
Yeah, I wanted to see another. I wanted to see some more. You know what I mean? I want to see some more, actually. I'd like to see a good scrap.
Hey, those body punches. I'm going to tell you something about Vergil Ortiz. I tweeted in the first round how his body shots were underrated. And not only his hooks to the body, and it was a body shot in the like right in the center of the chest, right under his pec muscle that really started the damage. But his jabs to the body, Vergil Ortiz's jabs to the body, I think set up a lot of his offense. Had Maurice Hooker, closing his elbows, like you saw his elbows coming like this to try to block those body shots. So hats off to Vergil Ortiz. He had a great game plan, executed it well. Took some punches. He got hit, but that's another thing. That actually, you know what? I'm glad I reminded myself. He got hit. When you're at a world-class level, you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
Maurice Hooker's a world-class fighter. Vergil Ortiz is going to get hit, just like Vergil Ortiz hit Maurice Hooker. It's the nature of the game. You're fighting world-class opposition. You're going to get hit. I thought he's responded very well to getting hit. I thought Hooker landed some good shots. And
in that fourth round, it looked like Vergil Ortiz, Maurice Hooker got Vergil Ortiz's attention with some of those shots he landed.
Yes, and Vergil Ortiz responded well, which is what you want to see.
Yeah. See, I think that's what's gonna make these fights interesting. You know what I mean? Because let's be honest, Terrence Crawford, I think hits a lot harder than a guy like Maurice Hooker.
I agree.
A lot of these top guys, they're not going to wilt from body punches, from head shots. Like, there's a reason why they're champions. You know what I mean? Like, if you see a guy like Danny Garcia, who's not a champion right now, but he just fought Earl Spence, who's probably the biggest 147-pounder right now.
And arguably one of the best.
I mean, that was a good fight.
Yeah.
And we all know Danny Garcia can crack as well. So I really want to see, when Vergil Ortiz hits these guys, and when these guys hit Vergil Ortiz, who's the one that's going to will? And I think that's what's going to make it such an exciting fight.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think Vergil Ortiz responded well, and I don't think Hooker, I know Hooker doesn't hit as hard, I think, as Crawford and Spence, but I think Vergil Ortiz responded very well to that, some of those punches that Hooker landed. Any last thoughts on this fight?
No. You know what? Great fight overall.
Yeah, congrats to Vergil Ortiz.
Congrats.
Looking forward to seeing what's next for him. On the undercard, Seniesa Estrada won the WBA minimum weight title over Annabelle Ortiz. Seniesa, I believe this was her first title fight, if I'm not mistaken, or her first challenge for a world title.
Then what's up with her like taking pictures with a WBC belt and all that? Is that like
she won a
interim?
WBC silver title,
Silver
I think,
title?
when she fought Marlene Esparza.
Okay.
But the silver title is not the full title. You know what I mean? That's more like the...
So is that like half a belt?
Like when Vergil Ortiz, when he beat Maurice Hooker, he won the WBO International Championship, which pretty much puts you in line to fight for the world title.
Like a number one contender spot?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
makes sense.
So Seniesa winning, that WBC silver belt put her, pretty much as the number one contender for the WBC world title. So that's what that is. But this one was for the actual WBA world minimum weight championship, and she dominated. Yep. You could argue that she won all 10 rounds.
Poor girl didn't stand a chance.
No. In the second round, I think she landed a hard right hand on Seniesa, and Seniesa, kind of took a step back and really, got her legs under her and went right back at it. Excuse me. And that kind of let me know that, okay, she took this girl's best punch and it didn't really do much to her. But she did hit, Annabelle Ortiz did hit her hard. She tried, but like you said, Seniesa was just too much for her. Your thoughts on the fight?
You know what? It was a good showing by Estrada. I was going to say it was a good fight. It was not a good fight. This girl, Annabelle Ortiz, got beat from post to post, man. I felt bad for her, but that's kind of just what happens when you have your record built up somewhere else and you hadn't really fought any good competition.
Yeah.
And Seniesa Estrada's the real deal. What do you want me to say?
Good.
I think her combinations look good. She had really good speed. Her power was good. It just
footwork.
It just seemed like she outclassed her in every aspect of the fight.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Poor girl had no chance. I mean, it wasn't even competitive.
Some constructive criticism here for Seniesa. I think when she transitions from righty to lefty, she needs to pick. Sometimes when she's exchanging, she'll try to switch in the middle of an exchange. That's not always the smartest thing to do. She squared up a lot. I saw her very square sometimes because she was trying to switch in between throwing punches or in between an exchange. So, most of the fight, she was doing it while she was at range. Like, okay, I'm going to switch lefty now. But there was no threat. When you're in the middle of the action and you try to switch, you end up squared. You can get caught with punches, fall off balance, knockdowns that are unnecessary. But, overall great performance by Seniesa Estrada. I think she's going to be champion for a long time at 105, 108, 112. Whatever weight she wants to fight at, because I think she fought Marlene at like 112, if I'm not mistaken. And this fight was at 105. So,
wow.
Seniesa has a high ceiling at all three weight classes. I could see her unifying 105, unifying 108, and then, taking it up to 112, where she looked smaller than Marlene Esparza and in that fight, but she still, gave her a great fight and eventually ended up beating her. Any last thoughts on Estrada?
No, you know what? She looked good. I can't wait what the future holds for her. I don't know, exactly if she seems very marketable for a women's boxer. I know. Is there any competition at 105, 108, 112? Any notable names?
I think there will be.
Besides Marlene Esparza?
Yeah, once we start paying attention to the 105s, 108s. I was telling you, a while back, in Mexico, women's boxing is highly regarded, bigger, at least more than it is in the United States. Okay. So I could see Seniesa fighting a lot of these Mexican girls at 108, 112, even maybe 115 if she decides to, and make for great fights. Mm-hmm. Look, I don't want to be that guy, but Clarissa Shields is like the head of the women's boxing it's not really a revolution. It's more of like a, I don't know, what is it? Like, she's trying to lead women's boxing. She just doesn't have the style for fans to get behind. And I think Seniesa does have a style that people are going to enjoy and watch. So, I mean, maybe at maybe at the lower weight classes, she'll gain more attention for women's boxing, and hopefully she fights more often, because I know it's a pandemic, but she's not fighting enough. Yeah. I'd like to see her fight a little bit more often.
And it seems like she's not really taking damage in these fights. You know what I mean? And even if people don't take damage in fights, it's still the training camp, sparring, all that type of stuff. But I mean, when you have a fight like this where you just coast to a win, I mean,
keep I would momentum going.
Yeah, don't keep her on the shelf either. You know what I mean? Get her in there, get her another fight.
And I think Golden Boy has done well with the lower weight classes, both men and women, getting them fights and getting them on TV, getting them some exposure. So I think Seniesa is in good hands with Golden Boy and on the zone. Hopefully we see her a lot more often, though. I'd like to see more of Seniesa Estrada.
Now, what is it with lighter weight fighters? Is this going to be different than men's lighter weight fighters, like 112, 118, whatever, where they don't last as long? Is it because they're having harder fights, like them being men, and Estrada's not really having these? I guess
more of
wars?
More of a volume punch thing. Obviously, I think it's called. We call it a punch card. Your card only has so many punches on it, and then once you run out of punches, your body can't take it anymore. So sometimes these lower weight classes, less power, but a lot more volume, a lot more punches, and a lot more damage the body takes.
Okay.
Especially cutting weight. Cutting weight takes,
I bet,
fights off of your career. But yeah, excited to see Seniesa Estrada again, defending that WBA belt and maybe even unifying the minimum weight division. Moving on to UFC real quick. Before the fight, did you have any thoughts on Brunson versus Kevin Holland?
You know what? I thought this was going to be a kind of a... Were we going to see Kevin Holland pull off, his most notable win to date? Derek Brunson was a guy that just derailed the hype train in Edmund Shabazian. Mm-hmm. People that don't know who Edmund Shabazian was, this guy was a guy coming up in the middleweight rankings. All he had to do was get past Derek Brunson, and he was going to probably fight for a title soon. Derek Brunson ends up beating him. And in this fight, Kevin Holland, it seemed like all the hype was behind Kevin Holland. Mm-hmm. Nobody really expected Derek Brunson to beat him. But Derek Brunson just showed that he's here to derail hype trains. And you know what? Kevin Holland did himself a disservice. He was talking to Khabib in the ringside. He was talking to Dana White in the corner. And while he was talking, Derek Brunson was fighting. And you know what? To me, it just seemed like he had a mental breakdown. Like he couldn't handle the pressure of this moment.
You know what? And now that you put it that way, I could really see that where, Kevin Holland uses his talking and his, outside of his talents, like his demeanor to try to get through moments like this. And it just didn't work in this fight. Brunson was focused. His game plan obviously was to take down Kevin Holland, and he was able to take him down in 4 of the 5 rounds and really, dominate him on the ground. My problem with what Brunson did was that he didn't land enough on the ground, and the takedowns were good. The control time was great. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he controlled most of the rounds on the ground, but he just didn't do enough for me to say like he's worthy of a title shot or worthy of, taking obviously he's going to have to take a big fight to move into title contention, but I'm just not convinced by him. If you're going to get takedowns like he did against Kevin Holland and very easily, You know, you got to be able to do a little bit more, make it more convincing, you know, because at any time, I believe the referee was, oh my gosh, the one that always messes up.
Herb Dean.
Herb Dean. Damn, I almost forgot it. I forgot his name for a second. Herb Dean could have stood them up at any time. And, you know, Holland was able to land on him a few times in that fight. But, you know, while they were on the ground, Brunson just was able to really hold down Holland and didn't have to do much to get the decision.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was just a very bad showing by Kevin Holland. Or
That too.
You know, I mean, Derek Brunson did his job, though. Derek Brunson's game plan, I bet, was to get him to the ground. And maybe Kevin Holland just wasn't going to have an answer for him, and he didn't.
Yeah.
You know, he was out here talking and, you know, acting like it was a joke and wanted to, you know, play friends with Derek Brunson, and Brunson wanted no part of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it just, you know, the entire fight, I was waiting for, okay, Kevin Holland's, you know, talking all this crap. When's he going to get his head in the damn fight? And, you know, is he just messing around and he's going to come on third, fourth, fifth round and knock Derek Brunson's chin off his head? He didn't do none of that, man. He just stood there on the floor and let Derek Brunson, you know, tee off on him, take him down, and he just made no effort to get up.
Yeah. I mean, it was a bad showing by Kevin Holland. And don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of his. I listened to his podcast with Joe Rogan. He talked about, you know, how he goes about training and stuff like that. You know, I believe, you know, his talents are there, but he just doesn't seem focused. And, you know, I was going to ask you a question. You know, I don't think we recorded a recap on Adesanya Blachowicz, but we saw Blachowicz be able to take Adesanya down very, very easily. Didn't seem like Adesanya had any takedown defense, you know, to keep Blachowicz off of him. Same thing with Kevin Holland. You know, it looked like Holland, as soon as Brunson got him in the clinch, that was it. Like, oh, that's it. I can't do anything. Like, you know, do you feel like these guys maybe just kind of succumb to the fact that this guy's a better wrestler than me and they're just going to take me down and I'm just going to deal with it once I'm down there?
I mean, I don't think that's the case. I just think that, okay, when Adesanya fought Jan Blachowicz at, you know, he was going up a weight class. That was a 20-pound jump this guy was making. You know, it wasn't just a 10-pound jump. You know, when guys jump from, you know, say featherweight to lightweight, 145 to 155, that's 10 pounds. When you go from middleweight to light heavyweight, you're going from 185 to 205. That's 20 pounds you're jumping. And to top it off, you know, I think Israel Adesanya thought, okay, Jan Blachowicz is a guy with power. He's going to try to stand with me. And a lot of people don't know Jan Blachowicz is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So, I mean, you know, I felt like he used his power, and even in his in the embedded the UFC countdowns that they do, Jan Blachowicz said, I'm going to win this fight by any means necessary. If that's me standing, if that's me taking it to the ground, if that's me having to submit him, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win the fight. I don't need to beat him in the stand. I don't need to beat him standing if I don't have to. Okay. And I think that's what makes a true champion. They stick to the game plan and they don't let the outside noise get to them. You know, it just, even if it's not the fight that people want to see, they're going to stick to their game plan and they're going to do what they need to do to win the fight.
I completely agree. Brunson called out Paulo Costa. I think that's a great fight for him. Yeah. Bad fight for Paulo Costa because I just think Paulo Costa, his head is in the wrong place. But I mean,
and he just him and his fight with Robert Whittaker is off. He
pulled out.
Did he test positive for COVID or?
No, he pulled out because I think they changed the date. And he said it wasn't enough time or something like that.
Paulo Costa said that? Okay. And Calvin Gastelum steps in on, is it short notice or?
It's still considered short notice. It's about a month and a week out. So about 5 weeks out, but still. Okay. It's still short notice.
Okay, yeah. So hopefully Derek Brunson can get that fight.
On the undercard of Vergil Ortiz, Marcelino Lopez, I don't know if you saw that fight. It was before Seniesa. Estrada, guy from Argentina, just monster punches, monster puncher. put down Jairo Lopez, I believe his name was. And then 19-year-old Tristan Calcruth. He's 7-0, 6 knockouts, I believe. He's a cruiserweight. Big kid. At 19 years old, he is huge. Had a good first round stoppage with a body shot. Guys to look out for. Do you want to talk about last week, Chocolatito Gallo Estrada, since we didn't get to record?
Yeah, we can if you want.
Chocolatito, or Gallo Estrada, I'm sorry, won a split decision over Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. Your thoughts on the decision?
A lot of people are saying it was a robbery. In my estimation, I do think Estrada lost that fight.
Okay.
And I was going for Gallo Estrada, but I just feel like Gallo Estrada is just not the guy I saw against Rungvisai the second time. It just seems like he's on a decline, man. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know if his body's just succumbing to whatever's going on. But even when he fought Carlos Cuadras in his last fight, he just didn't look. He didn't look like the Estrada that I saw in that Rungvisai in the second fight. It just seemed like he just slowed down. It seemed like even in that Cuadras fight, it seemed like he was doing a lot of when he got dropped in I think it was the third round when he got dropped against Cuadras. It just seemed like he was like so confident that he was going to move away. He ends up getting clipped and he goes down. You know what I mean? So, and then in this Chocolatito fight, it just seemed like he wasn't able to have the power to keep Chocolatito off of him.
Yeah.
And that was something that would surprise me because to me, at least, it seemed like Chocolatito, his best days were behind him. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. But I mean, Chocolatito came back from, a lot of people were already counting him out. I was counting him out. And he came back to win that fight. The decision doesn't go his way. What are your thoughts on it? I mean,
I agree with you 100%. Excuse me. One thing I will say is that these guys do not have Sorung Visai power. Because they did not look like they were.
But they're more technical.
Yes, a lot more technical. But Estrada, just like you said, he didn't have the power to keep Chocolatito off of him or to get Chocolatito's respect. And I think Chocolatito hurt Estrada very a couple of times in the fight where Estrada just seemed like his legs were not under him. Very interesting fight compared to what we thought we were gonna get. I think people overlooked the fact or paid too much attention to the fight 8 years ago, where Gallo really put a strong showing against Chocolatito. But again, that was 8 years ago, and we could say Chocolatito's kind of having a resurgence. And I think Gallo, he's been at least at or near the top in those last 8 years. But now we're starting to see, like you said, a steady decline or starting to see a decline.
Yeah, I mean, it could be something in his training, could be anything. Then again, styles can make fights. Yeah. Maybe Chocolatito fights Rungvisai and says he thinks he can beat him, and then, Chocolatito has that style where he does get hit.
Yeah.
So if Rungvisai catches him, he can go down again. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that Chocolatito's this just because he beats Estrada or, although he didn't get the decision. I'm not counting out that he can beat Rungvisai again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he lost to him twice. He got knocked down in the second fight. And who knows if styles make fights? You know what I mean? If Rungvisai can catch him, Rungvisai has more power. You know what I mean? So he may not be as technical, but I think that was the case in the fight against Estrada. It just seemed like Estrada was able to outbox him.
Keep him off balance.
Yeah, in that second fight. And hopefully Chocolatito, what I want to see is Chocolatito get that fight with Rungvisai, because I feel like that's one that's going to haunt him for the rest of his career or even after he retires. He needs to fight Rungvisai and he needs to get that win. I feel like that's something that he needs. I'm sure he would tell you the same thing.
With Gallo's win, I believe it puts him in position to fight Sorung Visai, because Sorung Visai is a mandatory now for, I believe, 2 of the belts.
Because he won his last fight, right? Rungvisai?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what would you rather see? Estrada against Chocolatito 3 or Estrada versus Sorung Visai 3?
Well, me, I would like to see Estrada versus Chocolatito 3.
Yeah, I think that's the
to
fight.
me. But I mean, it's hard to also. It's also hard not to pick Rungvisai because Rungvisai does have that knockout type of power.
Yes.
You know, and if Estrada is on this decline that we think he's on, there's a chance he get knocked out. You know what I mean? So who knows?
Yeah. So I mean, that'll be interesting to see what's ahead for all three fighters. And then I mean, you know, we talk about Cuadras. Cuadras can even be thrown in that mix. You know, say we get Gallo versus Rungvisai, we could see Chocolatito against Cuadras, you know, or you know, Cuadras versus Gallo again, and then we see Rungvisai against Chocolatito. Anything can happen. Mixture between all of them.
I don't know if you could put Cuadras in that mix yet.
Well, I mean, who else?
I think he has a lot of issues as far as his training goes. I'm not going to go into those details, right? But I think there's some things going on to where he doesn't have the discipline that these guys have.
Okay.
Like a guy like Chocolatito, Estrada, Rungvisai, I feel like they're in a class by themselves right now.
Okay.
I feel like Cuadras, if he can get his act together, because there's some things going on, I'm not getting get into it. But what I'm saying is the big guys like this, you have to eat, sleep, and breathe boxing.
Yeah.
Because these guys, like, I'm pretty sure these guys don't mess around. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure when they go in to train, they're training for a title fight. They're training to be the best in the division. They don't let outside noise and things on the outside get to them. Am I right or am I wrong?
I agree. Completely agree. Speaking of a guy who eats, sleeps, and breathes boxing now, David Benavidez also fought on that same night. He fought Ronald Ellis and ended up stopping him, I believe, in the 11th round.
Right.
David Benavidez, I think a lot of people were interested to see how he would come out and fight at 168. First of all, they wanted to see if he was going to make 168. And second, how he would respond after all the criticism of him, you know, not being at that level of a Caleb Plant, of a Canelo, of, you know, anybody else at 160, the top guys at 168. But he looked really good. He ended up stopping Ronald Ellis. You know, a good friend of mine, he had his moments in the fight, but in the end, you know, David Benavidez did come out on top. He was the better fighter. And Benavidez, you know, I think he's a little underrated by people. What do you think?
I think as well he is underrated by people. But I think it's due to the fact that he's missed weight a few times. He's had a couple of contraband issues, right? And that's probably why people are kind of counting him out. I think when he had these issues, he was like the guy coming up. He was like that prospect everybody was talking about. And then he had those issues. That's probably why a lot of people are overlooking him. But I feel like this Benavidez is the guy that's dialed in 100%. I feel like he found that love for boxing again. And Ronald Ellis isn't a guy to sleep on as well. You know, Ronald Ellis, great dude. Glad I got the chance to meet him. And I felt like he put up a good fight. You know what I mean? But when you're fighting a top 168 pounder and David Benavidez, who's, I'm pretty sure he's going to get that fight with Caleb Plant soon. I don't know if Caleb... You think Caleb Plant wants to fight a guy like David Benavidez?
If I'm Caleb Plant, I hold out so I can fight Canelo, get that Canelo payday, and then I'll fight Benavidez.
Yeah.
Because I think Benavidez beats up on Plant. I think Charlo was talking about moving up to 168 and knocking out David Benavidez. I think Benavidez plays with Charlo, whichever Charlo brothers at 160. I don't know if it's Jamal or Jermel. But I think he plays with him too. And I think Benavidez gives Canelo the best fight, in all honesty.
I think so. Even after that, it'd probably have to be maybe at 175, maybe Beterbiev.
175, Benavidez slaps around Beterbiev.
Really?
I think so. Dude, Benavidez is a beast. And we haven't seen him at his best, which is the scary part. Because I remember a 16-year-old David Benavidez showing up to RGBA and putting the smack down on some of our 175 pounders. Not even going to front. Some of our big guys, fucking Benavidez was putting the beat down on them. So.
Well, Hopefully, all I'm saying is this: if David Benavidez is dialed in, because this is the guy I want to see. I don't want to see a guy who's missing weight, having contraband issues. I don't want to see that, because if you're gonna fight a guy like Canelo, you better have your
A game.
A game. You better come and bring it. Don't let none of that stuff on the outside get to you. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's just not worth it. You're at a point where you can make history, something you could take with you forever. And I think Benavidez is there now. I feel like he found a new love for boxing. I feel like he's that guy where he's not going to miss weight anymore. He's taking this crap serious. And hopefully he could just keep it up and don't let anything else get in your way.
Yeah, I think Benavidez has a really bright future. Only 24 years old.
All right, let's talk about it. Well, since we're on the subject, what is it that makes these top guys, kind of succumb to the outside world?
Well, dude, you get thrown a bunch of money and you don't know what to do with it.
Really? Yeah. Like what? What? Okay, but are these guys making big money like champions make?
Well, no, they're not making millions, but I mean, you got
throw it out there. Throw this pay stub out there. What is it, like 100,000? I don't know
how much he's making. I don't know. I have no.
500,000?
Probably.
A fight?
Probably 500, 750.
Like take home?
No, that's before all the having to pay people.
Oh, like deductions and all.
Yeah, and then you got to pay taxes at the end of the year. Don't forget to pay your taxes.
Yeah,
tax day's coming up. I think you got less than a month.
All right, yeah, but answer my question. What makes it succumb to the outside?
I think it's the entourage, your friends, your family, all these people that influence you to do, the wrong thing. And it's all up to you. If you fall for it, then, you're just as much at fault as your entourage is.
Because we see a lot of these guys, Adrian Broner's had this issue.
Andy Ruiz.
Yeah, Andy Ruiz. Who's the other guy that just Cuadras has had those issues?
Cuadras, you just talked about.
There's a UFC fighter. People need to go out there and check out Joe Rogan and Derek Lewis.
Yes,
Derek Lewis is a UFC fighter who's, from my understanding, is on the Joe Rogan podcast. He talks about where he wanted to buy his family a car.
He did
buy his family a car. Each one of them bought them a car. They did him wrong. His own family, his own immediate family, sold the car for money.
Yeah, to get the cash.
Like, wow, like this is what these guys go through.
He probably bought them cars that were, $30,000, $40,000 cars, and they probably got like $15,000 to $20,000 off of each car. That sucks.
It is.
That really does suck.
That is BS, man.
Dude, you should just gone to the guy and be like, "Hey, here's your car. Can you just give me the $40,000, the $30,000?
Right.
I'd rather have the money, and I could buy a cheap car and I'll use it for something else." But it is what it is. It is what it is. You want to talk about the UFC card that we missed?
What UFC card?
Blachowicz, Adesanya.
All right, we're just gonna talk about everything on this podcast.
Well, I mean, we missed. Might as well.
All right, let's do it.
All right, Blachowicz, Adesanya. Adesanya came up short. Blachowicz showed he's the real deal. Thoughts on Blachowicz and where he goes from here?
Listen, Blachowicz won this fight against Adesanya. I felt like it was well-deserved. A lot of people overlooked him. I did pick Adesanya to win that fight, but just, what? Jan Blachowicz proved that he has more in his arsenal than just standing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he has that ground game. He has that ability to make adjustments on the fly.
Yep.
And that's what makes a champion.
Yep. I completely agree. What does his future hold for him? I mean, who's a threat at 205?
At 205, I don't know, man. I mean, he breezed through Dominic Reyes.
He breezed through the whole. Glover Teixeira.
Oh yeah, Glover Teixeira. Listen. Glover Teixeira is a guy that's been around. You know what I mean? Who did he beat up? He beat up on Anthony Smith.
He beat up on Anthony Smith.
When I thought Anthony Smith was gonna beat him.
Santos.
This is a 40-year-old. 43?
Yeah.
He's 43 years old. He's beating up on
all the top 205ers. All of them.
Yeah.
Thiago Santos, is that his name?
Thiago Santos, the Morataya, is that his name? His nickname?
Yeah, whatever his nickname.
He's got a sledgehammer tattooed on his chest. I don't want to fight any guy who has a sledgehammer tattooed on his chest. He doesn't give a shit.
Actually, he was on that undercard too. He lost to Rakic. Rakic.
Oh yeah, he did lose to Rakic.
Rakic is another guy at 205 to keep an eye on. But Teixeira against Blachowicz is a good fight to look forward to. Whitaker Gastelum winner to fight Adesanya for the title.
Yeah. You know what? They've been talking a lot about Robert Whitaker getting that rematch with Adesanya. Vice versa, if Calvin Gastelum can somehow win the fight against Robert Whitaker, Calvin Gastelum's on a rematch.
Yeah,
against Adesanya. I mean, they had a fight of the year candidate.
Yep.
When they fought. So, yeah. You want to talk about Petr Yan and Aljamain Faker Sterling? What's going on?
Wait. Co-main event was Amanda Nunes taking on Megan Anderson.
Nobody wants to hear this.
Amanda Nunes, best women's fighter ever.
Now. You know what I don't like to hear? And I'm going to sound like an idiot saying this, but you know, like when people like the challenger talk and they talk up themselves and it seems like, you know what, Megan Anderson's going to have a chance, man. Like she's dialed in, you know, first round, she gets the arm bar. What? Weren't you just saying that you were going to knock the chin off of Amanda Nunes? Like, see, that's why I don't listen to outside noise anymore.
Joe Rogan even said it on his podcast with Clarissa Shields. Hey, sometimes you have to, you know, hype up the opponent and you don't want to, but the UFC knows, like, hey, you have to.
I guess.
To get the people to buy it. But Amanda Nunes, there's no rankings at 145 anymore. Nunes has beat everybody.
There's never been a ranking at 145. Chris Cyborg made up that damn division. There was no 145-pound division. Chris Cyborg was here. Amanda Nunes destroys her in her own division. I mean, and then all of a sudden these girls are moving up to 145 to fight her. Did Holly Holm fight Amanda Nunes at 145?
No, that was at 35.
That was at 35?
Yeah, that was before Cyborg.
No, didn't somebody move up to 145? I think Megan Anderson at one point was a 135er. No?
That being that tall in 135? Dude, she is huge for 135.
That's true.
I think you know, when Ronda Rousey was around, I think people said that she was ahead of her time. Little by little, the women's division started catching up. Amanda Nunes caught up to her and, you know, beat her up, took the crown as the greatest woman fighter. And now I think she's past the game. Yeah. You know, she's reached the final level. Everybody else is trying to catch up to her. And I think there's nobody else for her to fight. There's no reason for her to fight. You know, it's unfortunate. It sucks.
Valentina Shevchenko is the only girl that's going to be able to even hold a candle to Amanda Nunes. Yeah. And even Valentina Shevchenko's at a disadvantage too because
she's a 25er, right?
Yeah, she's a 125-pound champ. And it just seems like 135 and then you're going up against Amanda Nunes. It's like, I think that's what happened in the first two fights. It just seemed like Amanda Nunes was just a little bit too big for her, but she still put up a good fight. If Valentina Shevchenko could get a couple more fights in, get her at her peak, and then try to get that third fight with Amanda Nunes and make your last run at that win.
Yeah. I mean, that's all there's left for Amanda Nunes, I guess.
Because Valentina Shevchenko's been looking good, and like every fight she's been getting better and better. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing that one because I don't think anybody else is going to be able to put up a fight against Amanda Nunes right now.
People have been talking up Kayla Harrison. I believe she's a judoka at Bellator or the PFL, something like that. I don't see it. I went to go look her up just to, you know, to see, okay, let's see if she has a chance. No chance. I'm sorry, but no chance.
All right, let's talk about Petr Yan and Aljamain Sterling. What's going on? What happened?
135-pound belt, right? 135?
Yeah.
Petr Yan champion taking on Aljamain Sterling. Petr Yan I thought was winning the fight. Mm-hmm. One judge did not think that. which was kind of weird. But anyways, Peter Yan lands a knee to a grounded Aljamain Sterling's head. UFC rules, you cannot knee to the head of a grounded opponent. And that served for a disqualification, making Aljamain Sterling the new champion. Forget the fight because Peter Yan was dominating. I thought Aljamain Sterling started well, but he just seemed really nervous and really anxious. And Peter Yan was calm, cool, collected, and started to bring the pressure and started to pour it on Aljamain Sterling. And he was really starting to take over the fight. But the foul is, I think, what everybody, wants to hear about. So what'd you think of the foul, and what'd you think of the outcome?
Okay, the foul was definitely intentional.
Okay.
Peter Yan threw that knee with intention of ripping Aljamain Sterling's head from his body. Like he was trying to decapitate him.
If there was a crowd, he would have sent it to the third row.
Exactly, with his hair and everything. Okay, and now my honest opinion.
Okay.
Do I think Aljamain Sterling could have got up? I think he could have. I'm gonna say it. You know why I'm gonna say it? Because I looked over at the Brandon Moreno versus Devason Figueiredo fight. Devason Figueiredo poked Brandon Moreno's eye. Not only did he poke his eye, he kicked him in the nuts hard as shit. And Brandon Moreno took all the 5 minutes, somehow got his wits under him, and kept fighting. To me, I feel Aljamain Sterling maybe could have took some more time and seen if he was going to be able to continue. That's just my opinion. Another thing, okay, I felt bad for Aljamain Sterling at first. I don't feel bad for him now. He removed Matt Serra.
Okay, but
His sensei from the corner. Matt Serra, he is a black belt under Matt Serra. He removed him from the corner. Matt Serra has cornered him in every one of his fights, every one of his pro fights. And you're going to remove Matt Serra for your biggest fight of your career? That is bullshit.
okay, but that has nothing to do with the foul.
But what?
So you thought
No, that I did say. I thought you could have got up.
Okay, so
Get up and keep fighting.
dude, there was no way he was getting up. Let's be real. There was no way he was getting up.
Well, I saw him get up and get his hand raised and get that belt, so he could get up.
Peter Yan landed that knee with.
I'm not the only one that's saying it, right?
I know.
So who
I know.
said it?
No,
Everybody
get it.
said it.
I completely get it. But at the same time, I feel like it would have been irresponsible for that referee to let that fight continue. Dude, he got kneed square on the fucking side of the head.
Oh, he did.
Hard as
He got
shit.
kneed on the temple.
Hard as shit.
Hard as shit.
That's a knockout knee. Like, the fight would have been over if that was legal.
Yeah, possibly.
That would have been a knockout blow right there.
But the thing too, I felt like Peter Yan was starting to put the smack down on him.
Yes, he was, and that's what I said earlier. But the foul itself, the commentators, Joe Rogan, especially,
I picked Peter Yan. That's why I'm pissed.
I picked Aljamain Sterling, so hopefully you guys bet your money on Sterling.
It makes me look like an idiot.
Joe Rogan was talking about how the title should not change on a disqualification. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, didn't it not change when Anthony Smith kept fighting, huh? When he fought John Jones and he got illegal kneed. Didn't he get illegally kneed against John Jones?
Did he?
I think he did, but he got up and kept fighting.
Oh no, yeah, he kept fighting.
Yeah, I don't think it should change. I don't think it should change hands.
Why not? Why not?
For an illegal blow?
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's not like you're not going through, like even Aljamain Sterling said it himself. He felt that it was gonna be a no contest. That's what he felt the fight was going to be. Then again, is that a credible answer? Because this is a guy who just removed Matt Serra from his corner. He's a black belt in Matt Serra, and you're going to remove him from your corner in your first title fight?
Oh shit!
The nerve of some pricks.
I thought I thought the title should have changed hands. And I'm gonna say this because it gives champions a chance to cop out.
Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, it gives them a chance to, okay, I'm hurt, I'm in trouble, I'm gonna low blow you because I'm gonna keep my belt.
You mean like in wrestling when they're like out the ring and it's for a 10 count? Hey, that's true, I guess. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
think about it. If you're hurt and you're, oh fuck, the guy's on me, I'm gonna poke his eye so that I keep my title. You know what?
You know what's bullshit though? A lot of people are saying that Peter Yan was looking for a way out. What do you mean
he wasn't looking for a way out?
What do you mean he's looking for a way out, or that he was frustrated? He was
winning.
He was putting the smackdown on Aljamain Sterling. You know what I mean? I felt like he was beating him in every aspect of the fight. You know what I mean? It was a close fight, but I think Peter Yan was starting to pull away and break him down. And even Dana White said it. It seemed like Aljamain Sterling was starting to fade.
Yes.
And it seemed like he was starting to get broken down. So yeah, I mean, that's just my thing. I feel like Peter Yan was en route to winning that fight. And, you know, unfortunately, Aljamain Sterling did get his way out. You know what I mean? So that's just me. That's my opinion. I mean.
Yeah. No, I completely agree, but I think Sterling was definitely hurt. I don't think he should have continued that fight.
Now, what do you think about the things that are going on? I mean, he's taking pictures with the belt after he took the belt off in the octagon. After he removed Matt Serra from the corner.
After a couple of days, you know, or even, you know, that next day, I'm sure he was like, okay, well, I'm the champion now. There's nothing you could do about it. You can't go and give the belt back. Let's be real. You can't do that.
Okay.
So, you know, he's got to enjoy his time as champion. Now, for him to feel like the real champion, he would have to beat Peter Yan. Okay. If he wants to feel like,
what if he defended it and not against Peter Yan?
Okay, then that's it. Only if it's for good money. If he's taking on Henry Cejudo, I would take the paycheck over defending against Yan.
Okay, yeah, because Henry Cejudo, to me at least, I feel like he's still the top guy at 135, even though
top money guy.
Yeah, the top money guy or whatever. Mm-hmm. Even though he's retired, I feel like he is the guy to beat.
Agree. On the undercard, what was the guy that Khabib helped out on the undercard?
Oh, Islam Makhachev.
Makhachev Nurmagomedov Jr. He looked like a beast. He looks like a monster. He dominated Drew Dover.
Something is up with these Russians, man.
Dude, these Russians. I feel like, you know, I should have sent Angel to Russia. So Angel, my oldest son, I should have sent him to Russia so he could be a wrestler.
You know what impressed me? Islam Makhachev, when he had him in that arm triangle from I don't know if he had him in mount or he had him in mount, right?
Yep.
When he started to squeeze, his muscles in his back like popped out like a freaking silverback gorilla. I was like, holy shit, this, like, you could see the definition everywhere when he started to squeeze. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, this dude's freaking yoked.
Nobody's getting out of an arm triangle like that.
I mean, nobody's surviving an arm triangle like that from a guy who has a back like that. Shit.
Yep, agree. Was there UFC last week? There was. Was there Gone against Rosenstruck?
That might have been like a week ago. Or was that
Well, who else fought last week? Somebody else fought last week.
Somebody else fought last week?
The UFC.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Maybe it was Gani and
Rosenstruck.
Was it?
Was it? I think it was. Well, I'll look it up real quick.
Okay, look it up.
Anything else we need to talk about?
Anything else that we missed? I mean,
that we missed that I'm trying to think.
Have we been recording for over an hour?
We're close to an hour.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah. Let me see. How do you go to past events?
I don't know. Just go to events.
Past. Oh, Leon Edwards.
Oh yeah, Leon Edwards. All right. What do you guys think about the eye poke?
Eye poke, same thing. That should have been a disqualification.
Well, that one was like not intentional.
Bullshit. In the first round, Leon Edwards gets warned for an eye poke.
Oh yeah, he did.
If you get warned for an eye poke and then you poke the eye again, how is that not a disqualification?
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
You know, and I get it.
But then again, listen, this is the side of UFC that people, or this is the side of the fight game that I'm gonna say it right here. Bilal Muhammad, nobody wanted Bilal Muhammad to win in the UFC.
No.
And that's just the reason why I felt like he wasn't gonna get the fair shade as far as even if this fight went to a decision or whatever the case, it's hard being a guy like that who's not as marketable as Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards already has that whole George Masvidal thing that happened backstage. It seems like he's gonna be more. Like, he's going to be the more promoted guy. Yeah. And it sucks, but that's just the way the fight game is. That's just the way. Boxing's the same way. I mean, that's just how it is. You know, and for that to be Bilal Muhammad's first championship fight, him to get eye poked, I mean, even his eye swelled up, right? From that eye poke.
Well, he didn't poke his eye, but he stuck his finger in the eyelid. So the bottom eyelid was what swole. He needed stitches in that eyelid because there was a cut.
He needed stitches in the eyelid?
Yeah.
But it was cut on the outside, or?
I believe it was on the outside.
Okay.
Yeah, but still, I mean, it was because of a finger. It wasn't because of a punch. So, yeah, I mean, that should have been a disqualification to me, even though I understand the politics. But, you know, I think Leon Edwards is in line. He needs to fight Covington. He needs to fight not Woodley anymore. Burns.
Yeah,
Burns would be a good fight for him. So there's definitely plenty of fights out there. You want to talk about fights that are upcoming or fights that were announced? I mean, we got Stipe against Francis this week. We'll have our fight preview for that.
I can't wait for that fight.
Francis Ngannou, great fight. Volkanovski tested positive. They were the co-main event, if I'm not mistaken, against Brian Ortega.
That one pissed me off.
Really sucks. Sucks for Volkanovski. Now he has to, he tested positive. He has to wait 2 weeks before he can go home.
Hope he recovers.
And then he has to quarantine for 2 weeks before he gets into his home of Australia. Or New Zealand. He's from New Zealand, right? Or Australia?
I think he's from New Zealand. Or I think he trains in New Zealand.
New Zealand, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, so he has to wait like a month till he can see his family. So that really sucks. I mean, it's one thing when you actually fight and then you have to quarantine before you can go see your family. But at least you fought. Like, he just wasted a whole training camp, not going to get to fight, and then still has to quarantine before he sees his family. Really unfortunate. Hopefully we get to see that fight. Hope Brian Ortega gets a fight, soon. I don't know.
Hopefully.
With COVID, we don't know if Volkanovski's going to recover properly. We'll have to wait and see. TJ Dillashaw is coming back, taking on Sandhagen.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a good fight.
That's gonna be a really good fight. I think it's a bad first fight for Dillashaw on his way back.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's definitely not getting a tune-up fight.
Nope.
You know what I mean? He's getting thrown in with the wolves right away, and it's been 2 years since he fought. So, I can't wait. Is he gonna? I'm curious to see what type of TJ Dillashaw. Do we see the TJ Dillashaw on the juice, or do we see the TJ Dillashaw that's, not juiced? And do we see a difference? You know what I mean? So, can't wait to see that one.
I think a win by Sandhagen really catapults him into the title contention. And he's there. He's almost there. I mean,
yeah, he's almost there.
He's a 1 minute rear naked choke away from having a title shot. So,
yeah.
Who else? Davison Figueiredo's fighting Brandon Moreno again in the rematch.
Brandon Moreno's gonna whoop him.
I don't know.
Brandon Moreno will whoop him, and I can't wait to put some money on that one.
He had his chance, I think. I think he had his chance, and I thought he beat Figueiredo the first time, but
I thought he beat him too. But people didn't give him that decision.
So I think Figueiredo's gonna come better prepared, and I think he was sick heading into that fight. I think that was. You sound
like what's his name? What's his name? He was dragging Brandon Moreno's name through the mud. What's his name? Chael Sonnen. Oh. Chael Sonnen on one of his little Bad Ink interviews that he does, Bad Guy Ink or whatever.
Bad Bunny.
Bad and Bunny or whatever that he does on YouTube. This dude just dragging Moreno through the mud like this guy's a scrub. He had no chance against. What is he talking? What fight was he watching?
Yeah,
I was watching Brandon Moreno freaking win that fight, but all of a sudden, he didn't have no chance. Deveza Figueiredo was sick. That this and that. This dude got kicked in the nuts. Oh man, see, this is why I don't listen to stuff on YouTube. Don't listen to this. What are you guys doing? Listen to this.
Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt is fighting Rob Font. Did you see that?
Who's that?
Rob Font. He's ranked number 4 at 135.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So that'll be a good fight.
I can't wait to see Cody Garbrandt get back in there. He's been derailed by some injuries, COVID torn bicep. He had blood clots. Yeah. I mean, this dude has had a crazy amount of injuries since he got COVID. I don't know if it's just a side effect from what happened, but hopefully this didn't mess his body up bad enough to where he can't be the same Cody Garbrandt, because if it does, we're definitely going to find out in that Font fight.
And he's coming off a spectacular knockout. I think it was it knockout of the year? No, that spinning kick one.
That one was the knockout of the year? Oh, okay.
Yeah, but Garbrandt definitely had a knockout of the year contender against Sun Sao. Another fight, Masvidal against Usman 2.
Yeah.
That has been announced. That's another good fight. Any other fights that you could think of that have been announced? 25, 35, 45. We're waiting on a Max Holloway announcement. I think he's ready to fight for a title at 145. Even though Volkanovski's out, but Max Holloway, I'm excited to see again.
I haven't.
55.
I don't think so.
Oh, Oliveira taking on Michael Chandler.
Oh, that one's
for
going
the
to be a
title.
good fight. I can't wait for that
Quick
one.
thoughts. Do they both deserve title shots?
I think Charles Oliveira does deserve a title shot because he's been blowing through the rankings as of late. For what he did to Tony Ferguson, let me tell you, Tony Ferguson, one of my favorite fighters, but my God.
Yeah.
Charles Oliveira just showed that he's just a freaking animal right now. You know what he was able to do to Kevin Lee, and then he does that to Tony Ferguson. Give this guy a title shot. I mean, no doubt about it. Michael Chandler, okay, he fought one fight at 155, and he was against Dan Hooker. Knocks him on the first round, but you know what? I would like to see a little more, but you know what? I'm not mad at this fight for it being a title fight. I'm not mad at it.
No, completely agree.
Because if you look at it, Khabib beat Conor McGregor and Khabib beat Dustin Poirier. So I feel like they're more on the money side of things. Like, it's gonna be a big fight that's gonna draw a lot of attention, a lot of money. So,
and I think Poirier deserves the first title shot after these guys figure out who's champion. Unless he fights McGregor I would rather fight McGregor for the money, but
I'm pretty sure.
I think Poirier deserves a title shot.
Well, Dustin Poirier wanted his fight against Conor McGregor to be for the belt.
It's hard. It's hard to tell the public that McGregor, coming off of, that loss to Poirier, is going to fight for the title. It just doesn't make sense to me. Any other news we need to talk about?
I mean, I think we covered it all. Honestly.
We covered everything. Sorry for this long podcast. We're trying to record more often, shorter podcasts. I know for YouTube sometimes it's hard for you to sit and watch, but we got some things coming for you guys. Really excited. Make sure you guys subscribe, drop a like, leave a comment, and have yourselves a good week. We'll have our preview for the UFC coming up. Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou. And thank you guys for watching another episode of the A Sports Podcast. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Sayonara.